Hello and welcome to Soul Love with Kimness. I am Kim van der Zande, your host, and I'm super excited to share another episode of Soul Love with you, where we share inspirational and empowering stories from the heart. We talk about the beauty and the shadows as both are part of the ascension journey, to remind you that you are powerful, you are magical, and to have trust in what you feel to be true deep within. Enjoy this next episode of Soul Love. Before we start the next Soul Love conversation, I want to invite you to check out my amazing book, Activating the Flower of Love, a sacred guide for manifesting your deepest desires and highest calling. This sacred book, filled with powerful tools and activations, will guide you to open your heart to the beauty and wisdom within you, empowering you to create the life you deeply desire from the foundation of love. You can find Activating the Flower of Love in all the major online and offline bookstores in ebook or paperback, or you can check it out through my website, kimness.nl, where you can also discover the different ways of working with me and the latest updates on new starting programs. Enjoy this next episode of Soul Love. Welcome everyone to a new episode of Soul Love, and today I'm honored and excited to share a sacred conversation with Camille Guillerey, and I welcome you within this sacred space.
Thank you so much, Kim. I'm so excited to be here. So honored.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
It's really, again, you're a beautiful Instagram friend that I met a while ago, and I love your shares because you share a lot about finding the balance as a mom with working and our mission. And so for me, it is really aligned as a young mom with having my business and also working and all of those things bringing together. So I know how important it is, and I'm excited to share because I think a lot of our people tuning in will also benefit from that. But what really helped you to feel so passionate about this topic and to start sharing with the world, like, okay, how can I find this balance and what is important in that? And
yeah, well, I'm gonna start far away.
Yes.
Because I actually really made a big shift in my career and my life a few years ago. But I think that my previous career is actually an essential part of my journey and an essential part of my identity. So I used to be a scientist, or maybe I'm still a scientist, like my heart.
I get it.
But I used to work in pre-medical research. So I was a cancer immunologist, and I was very passionate about my job. So the way I see it is that we have all these little cells in our body, these white blood cells, and they are fighting to keep us healthy. They are just keeping us alive. And I was looking at how these cells can recognize cancer cells, so cells that can be dangerous, and how they eliminate them, or how they fail to recognize them sometimes. And so that was fascinating. I love that. And I'm also sharing this because being a scientist and being in academic research was a really big part of my identity. And I realized that I had a lot of trouble of letting that go in the past years. But basically what happened for me is that although I loved the science, I loved the biology, I realized that some of my values were not in phase with the space I was working in. So academia, for those who know, is I would say, a very special environment.
I get that.
I mean, like any line of work, we all have our specificity, but academia is very competitive. And I think that for myself and for a lot of other scholars, we have our own self-worth, which is tied to our academic achievement and academic success. So for me, it started from a very young age with the grades, having good grades, and then having the degrees, getting my PhD, and then getting these publications and getting this recognition and getting those grants. But it never ends. It's always higher and higher. And it's also realizing that actually there is much more in life than this recognition, which is is just pure ego. It's not really
Yes.
what matters the most. And also, so there was this huge competition in academia. So it's a very highly competitive field because there is not a lot of funding. Unfortunately, there is not enough funding for research, even though research is really important.
Yes.
There is not enough funding. And so people have to compete for this. And so they have to compete for survival. And the competition is not always fair. And so I think I realized two things. I realized first that my worth was not tied to my academic achievement, and I didn't have to stay in this competition field.
Yeah.
And that I needed kindness. That's one of my core values. And I couldn't find kindness in this competition.
Yeah.
There was no space for it. And there was no space for connection. And yeah, I needed kindness, I needed connection, I needed authenticity. And I think a lot of this change of view also came with becoming a mother and like reflecting on what was important for me, what I wanted to pass on to my daughter, and what really matters to me. Yeah. And I took a decision like in 3 days. There was a personal trigger, but I took the decision in 3 days. I'm leaving this academic career. I just relinquished my funding. I had a lot of funding. I relinquished it. Yeah. I left to start studying psychology to become a psychologist. It's like starting back from scratch.
Yes.
Yeah. And so
what I already love before we dive further, but I think a lot of us, when we're growing up, we're being, as young children, already in school, we're being pushed to do our best, to constantly go over our boundaries, to learn more. And we're really, in a way, also conditioned to be valued by our degrees, by what we're doing, by our titles, so it's something that, and I think it's amazing that you broke free of that, but it takes a lot of courage because it means breaking free from what we have been taught as a young child, in a way, what the basic society is built on having degrees, on having this good job. And I think a lot of us at one point, and especially I love, as you shared, becoming a mom is because then we get to feel like, okay, is this truly also the example I want to give to my children? Is this truly what fulfills me? And you start to understand that there's so much more than life than only that. Because of what I love in your story, there's always a next goal to reach. And if we keep going there, we also lose a lot of things because we're so focused on this. And then sometimes we need the wake-up calls that make us feel like, okay, is this truly the aligned path? Is this truly what fulfills me? Is this truly, because sometimes we're in this train and it just keeps on running and going. And before we know it, we're at the end of our life and thinking, okay, was this why I was here? And where's the connection? Where's the love? Where's the kindness? So I think it's amazing that you've made that choice, because I think as well, when our soul is ready, it feels it, and then the decision is made very quickly. So I love the 3 days you shared, like, okay, there's a trigger, but it was an awakening call. It was an invitation for you to do something different. Because I was wondering, like, when you worked in that, was your daughter already born? I don't know. Yes.
Yeah. So she was born, and I think I worked for 4 years part-time, so mostly being a single mom at this stage. Yeah. And I was successful. So I had a major shift when I went on maternity leave because there were a lot of things that were happening in the lab that I was in that were really not aligned with me. And so I was like, okay, that's my last chance I'm giving to science, but that was no longer my priority because I wasn't mom. So that was like, okay, I'm trying and I need the money, and I'm also becoming a single mom, so I do need a salary. But I was like, I think I was not so much into it, and I started to be successful again. Like I started to see results and I got more funding and it was growing up. And so I started to get my passion back, I would say.
Yes.
Until the point where there's been other things. When I was like, no more, this is not aligned with my values. And I tried to fight to keep my values, but this is costing me my mental health.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, I'm out.
Yes, I get that. And how was it to study, because you studied psychology after that? How was that with a child and with balancing both? I think that's quite a, yeah, impressive thing to do with all that happened.
So I'm still studying. So I quit and study. I've got the graduate diploma of psychology now.
Yes.
So I finished that in August. And so I'm continuing with honors. And I'm going to do it part-time because, as you probably know, I've also started my business.
Yes.
So I've obtained this certificate in psychology, and I've also did a training in life coaching.
Yes.
And what I'm very passionate about at the moment is supporting other moms
Mm.
and supporting other moms that are in the similar situations that I see myself when I was in academia, meaning that they have a career that has been almost everything until they had children.
Yeah.
And they devoted a lot of time and energy to this career. This job is meaningful to them. It's not just about money. It's actually about making an impact. It's
Yes.
really fulfills them. But at the same time, they don't want to sacrifice their family to keep their
Mm.
career.
Yes.
Their family is their priority. And for this woman, I really want to support them in having both, like
Yeah.
being able to continue this career and also being present with their family.
Mm.
And I would add, because I've seen that for a lot of women, they do have their family as a priority, they do continue with their career, but their self-care is just going
Yes.
non-existent. So
Yeah.
it's about also making time for themselves and stepping out of this rush all the
Mm.
time and feeling out of control because everything is just dumped on them, and taking back control.
Yeah, I think that's such a, because it's understanding when we try to hold all of the things up. There's one area that at one point, and most of the time, it's self-care, because I understand that as well. It's such an important reminder. That's what I love as well about the Instagram space that I created as well. With the beautiful people that I get to follow, you all inspire me each time, like, because we are in this, we're passionate. I'm also passionate about what I'm doing. This is my life work. This is what I'm here to do. I feel it in every cell of my body. And sometimes other things are needed and there's a family, but still, how can we make sure that we stay balanced and that we, even though the passion is there and even though we want to sometimes move more quickly than our body likes, because that's also like our soul, our mind is so driven, it just wants to move forward, but our bodies is sometimes also like me last night having all my girls awake because they're not felt well, but still it's also, no, but it's part of our lives. That's what I noticed before when I didn't have children. Okay, you could just sleep the whole night and all of that, but that's not like, sometimes we have these things and then still we're showing up and still, and I think that's also the power in, okay, but how can we be more loving? What has really helped you to stay balanced, and what are, for everyone tuning in, like that resonates with your story, what are things you would like to suggest to them, like that they can already start today, or yeah.
I think the most important part of my journey was actually starting psychotherapy. And if I had to just suggest something to anyone, is that don't delay the start.
Yes.
Just do it. Because this has been life-changing. So for me, I started psychotherapy, and that's also the reason why I decided to become a psychologist, because I've
Mhm.
seen the change on myself. I've seen all the
Yeah.
benefits, and I just want to share that with others. And so I started just before my daughter was born,
Mhm.
because I was in a kind of middle of a crisis. So I was in a very unhealthy relationship. And I knew that I had patterns in my family that was, I was very worried about repeating them. And actually having a conflictive relationship was part of it.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was a pattern that I needed to break.
Yeah.
And I know that, I mean, I started because I was at this point, like, there is this child coming and I need to be the best mom to her. I don't want to repeat what happened to me. I don't want to have this conflictive environment for my child.
Mhm.
I've always promised myself that I'm not going to do that. And yet she's about to arrive, like it was two weeks before she was born.
Oh, wow.
And
Yes.
that was just my maternity leave, and
Yeah.
she arrived right on the scheduled date. But yeah, I was like, she's just arriving, she'll be there, and I'm still not ready. Like, I still
Mhm.
have all this things that I haven't unpacked.
Yeah.
And so I need to do something. And so this what got me there. But I've been thinking of that for probably 10 years before. I knew that I had things that I had to resolve, but I was still functioning. So that never felt as a priority. And this would have been time, this would have been money. And at this time, it didn't felt that urgent. I was still able to go on with my life. But what I would really recommend people is that actually don't wait to be in a crisis.
No.
Like, it's not because you're still functioning, it's not because your life still looks like it's under control that you have to delay this work, because this work is not about being functioning, it's about thriving, I would say. It's about having this healthier you. And
I always say, because it's the greatest gift you can give to yourself and others. And it can be psychology, but it can also be life coaching, or many different things that resonate with whatever your path aligns for you, or your path feels aligned. But it's really about returning to our pure self, because it's understanding when we grow up, there are a lot of limiting beliefs we get from our parents, from society, from school, and some of these patterns, they keep repeating themselves without us knowing, attracting unhealthy relationships or limiting like negative self-talk and all of that. And it's really understanding that when we get to become aware through whatever form of coaching or guidance, it really helps us to stand in our light and to shed these layers and return to our pure self, to return to our most happy self. But it all starts within. And I think it's sometimes we feel like, okay, but there's nothing wrong with you. No, there is nothing wrong with you, but it's just it's you finally taking care of you. That's self-care as well. Like and sometimes we need these wake-up calls, or sometimes there are these significant life changes as becoming a mom or a parent that really opens our eyes. But it is indeed, it's one of the most important journeys we can go on, because it's discovering who we are and how we work. And that's what I love. You're a scientist, but the scientist is not only in the job you did before. It's a part of you, so you do it in every part of your life. So now you're going on the discovery. Okay, who is Camille, and what is she built of, and what is she made of? And no, but that is inspiring, and I think that it's beautiful that everyone follows his own inspiration. But what is more, like, on this discovery? Who are you? What are your values? Because that's also important. Sometimes we're, again, in this trajectory and we're not stepping out, but what are truly your values? What do you truly find important? Because otherwise we lose ourselves. And that's, you can do that for a couple of years. But at one point, your soul will knocking on your door. And for me, it was a terrible illness. But at one point, your soul will say, hello, you need to listen. And if you don't want to listen, and it doesn't mean always that will happen, but there are different wake-up calls. The world around us is mirroring something that wants to be seen and felt. And most of the time, it's a wounded inner child part that got neglected, or patterns are really unhealthy. And it is, unless we are willing to face them. And I think we don't, like, the invitation for now is, don't longer be afraid for yourself, for your shadows, for your wounded aspects, because in that you're constantly denying a part of yourself, and that's not moving forward. Moving forward is saying, okay, I see you, I acknowledge you, and I'm ready. Show me. And that's what I love. Like, so your scientific part can now blossom in beautiful other ways and share. So I think that's so beautiful. Yeah. And do you notice it as well in your daughter? Because I notice the more I do the inner work, also my daughters become more empowered. Because also, if you look at family constellations and all of that, when we make the shift within, we help the lineage back, but also the lineage forward. So it's not in fixing those of them. No, it's in taking responsibility in a way, even though sometimes it's not our fault, but taking responsibility for our energy, our alignment. And in that, things shift. And so I don't know how that's for you, but
I do notice that. And I also, I mean, that's another part that just drove me to go into psychology, is that everything that I was reading for parenting, I could apply that to my child, but I could also apply that to myself. Like all this emotional regulation, and like we are adults throwing tantrums, basically, because we just need our feeling to be acknowledged.
Yes.
And basically, everything that I was learning to be a better parent was also helping me in my healing journey. And becoming a better person and regulating myself. And yeah, you cannot regulate a child if you don't regulate yourself first.
Yeah, it's so important. And I also find because you said like I at one point identified myself with what I was doing. And I know as well a lot of people are in that space. But what has helped you to find the identity within yourself again instead of within the titles and within the what has helped you to break free from that pattern? Yeah.
I think it's a constant journey. If you
Yes.
ask me why I'm now, I'm many things and not one thing.
Yes.
So it's a bit, but I have to say that for 1 year after quitting academia, when people ask me what I was doing, my first answer was, oh, I used to be a scientist and now.
Yes.
And yeah, it took me a while because this identity, it was really, really, so powerful for me.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what you said about our values, is that I am Camille, I have these values, this is important for me. And then I'm many things to many people. So I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, I'm a stepmom, I'm a life coach, I'm a student.
Yes.
I've got many different identities and also many different facets. And that's something also that I found fascinating in human nature, is that you can be authentic, but you can have different facets in different circumstances. And you're not fake in any of them. It's just that different environment will trigger different parts of you.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. And that's so true because it's really a family dynamic is totally different than a work environment, or a schoolyard is also a different space. So but I think that's what I notice in myself. The more I'm willing to do the inner work, the more I harmonize my field, the less triggered I am, because it's taking responsibility for what we feel within ourselves. But that also reflects out, because then we totally like, it's also, I always love the example, like when we're in love, we're glowing. We're in this zone of, but then the whole world looks differently, but it doesn't mean the world has changed. No, the world is still the same, but you have changed. Your perception of the world has changed. And it's really understanding that's what the inner work does. When we do the inner work and we start to love ourselves, every part, then it's not, okay, I'm in love with that person and that's why I feel good. No, we need to start love, or that's my invitation and my mission, to love ourselves for everything that we are, to be in love with ourselves every day, every moment. And it has ups and downs, of course, that's part of life. But the more we're in this space of self-love, of compassion, of nourishment, the more that ripples out and the more beautiful experiences we get. And the more, but I love that in the old way, it was so taught that the solution was outside. There is this quick fix, or there is this thing that's forever wrong with me. And no, but if we really being ready to face or to go within, there are powerful shifts that we can make. And in that, the world around us shifts and our perception, and so many beautiful things happen. So for me, it's always, and that's what I love as well in your share, like, and even as well with the work you did before, because when we have less stress, our body can also regulate more, and there's more self-healing and all of that. So in a way, I think it's also beautiful that you're now helping people to, because when you're truly very stressed, there are also scientific things that share, like, okay, you go into fight, flight, freeze, but then your immune system goes into lock. Well, if you need to run for the lion, your body doesn't need anything about regenerating your cells because it doesn't survive on the lion. Why would it do that? But we're so in chronic stress sometimes that our whole body is in that stress situation consistently. And in that, the regenerative systems and the self-healing abilities, they go on the low end. And that it can also create a lot of healing, or a lot of illness in our system. And so I love that you're taking the step to psychology, because then it's when you can just be at peace, whatever is happening there, but at peace within yourself. That is, I think, the greatest gift, or the greatest invitation in this moment to feel that centeredness. So what is what is up for you the next coming weeks, months? What exciting things are you? Because you're beautiful. I would say to everyone, I will share your links below, but check your beautiful Instagram account, and I saw you're on Facebook and your website and your bio. It's all below, video and audio. But yes.
Thank you. Well, Christmas is coming.
Yes.
Yeah, and so there will be the holiday and all the excitement.
Yes.
But professionally, I'm gonna start honors of psychology in the new year, so that's very exciting.
Yeah.
And and I'm still growing my coaching practice, so really hoping to support as many moms as possible in like being fulfilled in their career and being present with their family.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think that's so beautiful. And how is Christmas going to? Because I know in my world trip I was in Australia as well during Christmas. But for me, coming from Europe, the Netherlands, here it's very cold and it's dark, and well, the days are less. And you are from France, so. But I know I found it so interesting to be at the beach at Christmas. But I know for a whole part of the world, this is normal and for not what I have, so I also get that. But I found it so interesting building sand snow pops or snow so it was interesting. So how is your Christmas going to look like?
Yeah, it's going to be a hot Christmas.
Hot, yeah.
It's
But
going
I
to be
think
a
it's
hot Christmas, and yeah. So for the first year for me, it was really weird. Like it still doesn't feel like Christmas. I'm
yeah,
used to. You
yes,
have, I think, in Europe, you feel it in the air, and so that's something
yeah,
I had from my childhood. Like Christmas is coming, and
yes,
it's
yeah,
like it's getting colder, and here it's different, but
yeah.
it's lovely too. It's just
Yes, no,
different.
I loved it as well because you can just be outside and have beautiful. So it was amazing. But I think, and then we're closing this beautiful. But I also think because a lot of now in the Netherlands we get a lot of Christmas movies as well. But every Christmas movie that I watch, it's snow and it's cold. So maybe an invitation to one day also make a Christmas movie where you're on the beach in the summertime in Australia or other beautiful places in the world. So yeah. No, but I want to thank you for sharing your light and for sharing your voice. And I hope that it gets to inspire a lot of beautiful moms that are also on their mission. And it's so important to find that balance and self-care is and it's I think as moms, because it's this like we love to take care of others as well, just in our nature. So it's also a constant daily reminder. And sometimes we're in this flow but at one point we need to honor, okay, what is the message of our body? What do we truly need? And yeah, so thank you for sharing this sacred space. And everyone tuning in, thank you for being here, for sharing this conversation. Let us know what sparked for you in the comments below. And if you would like to follow, subscribe, whatever way resonates with you, but it really helps the show and the spreading of these beautiful codes. So for now, wishing you an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and see you soon. Bye.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you for joining this episode of Soul Love. If you want to find out more about what we do, you can find it below. And I'll see you in the next episode. Much love.